All right, let me tell you guys how this started. So last week, after a full night of rest, I still got my everyday coffee. I would either at Starbucks if I was making it in the house. If I was working out before work, I would have pre-workout. And what ended up happening, I'm not gonna lie, that morning I felt so tired. I felt so exhausted. Even after sleeping 8 hours, I felt tired. I'll be honest with y'all. So then I was thinking to myself, like, yo, I'm always getting 8 hours of sleep, or I'm always getting like a normal night to sleep, whatever it is, 7, 8 hours, even sometimes 9, and I still would be tired. But I didn't understand, I don't understand why every time I would just get up and just grab coffee. So I decided to tell myself, you know what? I'm gonna take a break from coffee. I'm not gonna have any coffee for at least a week. So I spent the whole week saying to myself, I'm not gonna have any coffee. Let me not wear these glasses causing a glare. I use it to protect myself from like the whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna take a break from coffee. I'm always grabbing coffee, and then one of my friends had a scare recently when it came to caffeine and things like that. So I said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna take a break. When I was younger, it started off with the frat pay craze. Then it was then I was drinking a lot of like pre-workout stuff like that when I was training when I was younger. Then I was like, sometimes I would have a coffee in the beginning of the day, then a coffee at the end of the day because I was just tired. But in this video, I'm going to talk to y'all like what happened in the 7 days, why I decided to, take a break from coffee, and why I may not really be going back to it every single day. I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's just jump in. So, since I can remember, and this is how me and my homie got really, really cool back in the day. We would always just drink black ice coffee. It was like we would go to Starbucks, we would chop it up, things like that, and then we would go to the gym and just work out. Or even during the pandemic, it would be one of those things like we would get one in the early part of the day since we wasn't working, the gyms were closed, so we'll get one in the early part of the day and then later on in the afternoon. And it would always just be the same venti iced coffee every single day. And then, shortly after the pandemic passed, I was still drinking the coffee. It would just be, if it was something I could make at home, it was something I can get at Starbucks. It was like, I always had coffee, and a lot of my friends would joke and be like, yo, you always drinking coffee. And I'm gonna be honest, caffeine is addictive. Caffeine is a drug. I'm not even gonna say it's not really, respectfully, it's kind of a drug. If you don't use it responsibly, you can get sick. And I got to the point where I was like so reliant on coffee. I would just drink the coffee every single day. And I guess when I noticed that I was just tired. I was super tired, but I went to sleep like around 11:30, and I got up like around 7:30 or so, and I was like, yo, why am I so tired? But anyway, moving past that, like today, so the first day was fine until about like 5 o'clock. I went to work at 5 o'clock. I start to have this crazy headache, and I don't really get headaches. I don't really take Tylenol, anything like that, but I had this crazy headache, and it was like a pressure headache. I don't know if you would say withdrawals from coffee or whatever it is, how y'all would call it, but I just felt like, that was like one of the craziest headaches I've had in a long time. I'm talking about years. I don't really get headaches like that unless I really don't. So the first day was fine. I kind of felt tired around 5, and I guess that was correlated to the headache and just overall the lighting where I was at work. Hence the reason I'm wearing my glasses a little bit more. So the first day went down. Then the second day, and I'm not going to give you all 7 days, but I'm just going to fast forward. What I noticed in the second or third day was that I started to have a lot more energy. And I mean, like, when I felt like I had 8 hours of sleep. I genuinely felt like I had 8 hours of sleep. That was like the first time in a minute where I was like, I don't feel tired. And it was just this weird thing that I had this burst of energy. The weekend came, I was helping a friend and stuff like that, move some stuff around, and it was, I didn't feel tired. I didn't have no cravings for coffee. I haven't had soda. I haven't had anything with caffeine, period, because I was like, I wanted to see how it would feel to not have coffee or any caffeine whatsoever. And it's almost like to the point where I'm thinking, maybe I'm onto something here. I felt at one point that if I was to do this and go back to it, I would just pretty much be going off the wall. And it's not that I want to completely give up coffee altogether, but I feel like to the point where I could just completely give it up only on special occasions, but I would have a large quantity. I mean, yeah, you guys are gonna see it from the thumbnail, or I don't have a cup of coffee right now to hold up, but which is a good thing. I'm talking about like a venti iced coffee is like a medium drink from like McDonald's, or a medium soda from like Wendy's. That was the coffee I was drinking. And then over time, I started to go down to like this small size, like a cup of coffee, like I would say 8 ounce, if you will. But it was crazy. I feel like even today, as I'm making this video, I didn't sleep too well yesterday, but I can't explain it. I feel a lot better. Even my eyes, under my eyes, I feel like this different weight. I don't know how to explain it. A different way. I feel like I'm getting that elasticity like right underneath my eyes again. And I know it's gonna take time. It's only been a week. I'm not like, listen, I'm not trying to say that my whole life has changed in a week because I didn't have coffee. But I would say this, like I feel like I have more energy. Even when I'm not even well rested. And I also feel like at the end of the day, I'm more alert, if that makes sense. It's just, and of course the effects for your teeth and stuff like that, your teeth, that was another thing. I was brushing my teeth 3 times a day, like as I should. And I was like, the coffee, I noticed people who drank coffee, even myself, my teeth wasn't as white as they used to be. So I was thinking to myself, that's gonna also help. If you're someone who's drinking coffee and, you know, maybe you had like an opportunity, maybe you have like a less long day at work, or you have one day where you're like off and you try not to drink coffee, I'm telling you, you're gonna notice these effects. But there's so many benefits to that, as I mentioned about the teeth, as I mentioned about taking the time to go to the Starbucks and get coffee. That's one thing. I know they have the mobile app thing. I know it's just one of those added things that you add to your plate for getting your day started. And I felt like at some point I was like not addicted, but it was just one of those things, like you get up, get ready, get your coffee, and then go to work. And I'm glad I tried this out. I'm glad that, and I don't know I may give you guys an update like in another 2 weeks. I might do another video about, you know, how I kick coffee. It's this weirdest thing. It's not a weird thing, but it's a weird thing to talk about in a video. Like, because at some point, the reason why all these coffee places exist and stuff like that is because everybody's just drinking coffee. But yeah, I think I might continue to give it a break, see how it goes. But I also, if I did drink coffee, I would probably drink it like as like a pre-workout, like an 8 ounce cup of coffee. I wouldn't like do pre-workout anymore. I think my days of trying to be a quote unquote bodybuilder are completely over, which I'm joking. I never try to be a bodybuilder. But at the end of the day, let me know, are y'all drinking coffee? Are y'all some coffee drinkers? Comment down below. Let me know if y'all team Starbucks, team Dunkin', or you make your own coffee, you drink Cafe Bustelo, whatever it is that you drink. Let me know. But let me know if you experience this, have you tried stopping it, or is that something you're just going to just be drinking forever? I don't know. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Peace.